Hello and thanks for joining us at 6 p.m. on Saturday, August 13th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start with an update from the 2016 Olympics in Rio from our Ian Shin.
Thanks for tuning in. Here to bring you the latest actions from the Rio Olympics. I'm Ian Shin. We start with some fantastic news for Team Korea. The nation's archers have sealed a historic clean sweep in all four of the men's and women's team and individual events. Earning the fourth and final gold in the men's individual, Korea's Koo Bon-chan beat France's Jean-Charles Valadon 7-3 in Friday's final. Following in the footsteps of his female compatriot Chang Hye-jin, Koo is now a double gold medalist at these Rio Games following his victory in the men's team event on Sunday. Since archery became four separate Olympic events in 1988, Korea is the only country to have dominated in all four categories. Team Korea also added a silver to its medal tally on Friday. Kim Jong-hyun finished second in the men's 50-meter rifle prone shooting competition with a score of 208.2. This is Kim's second Olympic medal as he won silver in the same event at the 2012 Olympics in London. And this is also the second shooting medal for Team Korea in Rio following Kim Jong-un's golden victory earlier this week. While Korea has cemented its position as the #1 in archery, Team USA is the one to beat when it comes to swimming, be it men's or women's. Following in the footsteps of the most decorated Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps, the youngest member of the U.S. Olympic swimming team, Katie Ledecky, claimed her fourth gold of the Rio Games in the 800-meter freestyle on Friday. And if that's not impressive enough, get this, she also smashed her previous world record in the process with a new time of 8 minutes and 4.79 seconds. She currently holds the world's best times in the 400, 800, and 1500-meter freestyle events. The fresh-faced teenager who keeps breaking her own records says that on top of pushing herself further, she is having fun, proving this is only the beginning of her legacy. From one young Olympic star to a veteran cycling legend from Great Britain, who has written himself into the history books. Wiggins has become Team GB's most decorated Olympian ever, claiming his 5th Olympic gold on Friday in the men's team pursuit. Wiggins, along with his teammates Ed Clancy, Stephen Burke, and Owain Doull, set a new world record as they beat Australia in a nail-biting race. With 5 golds, 1 silver, and 2 bronze, the 36-year-old now has become most Olympic medalists than anyone else in his home nation. Friday surely was eventful as North Korea won its first gold in Rio, proving that even athletes in one of the world's most secluded nations give it all during the Olympics. Lifting 117 kilograms in the snatch and 153 in the clean and jerk, Rim Jong-sim lifted 16 kilograms more than the silver medalist from Belarus in the women's 75-kilo category. North Korea won 4 gold medals at the 2012 London Olympics, but so far, at the midpoint of these Rio Games, Rim's solitary gold has the country sitting in 20th in medal standings. That's a wrap of Friday's action. Now, let's take a look at some of the events to watch out for on Saturday.
Now, in the rest of the day's news, Korea reportedly hopes significant progress will be made in regards to a landmark agreement on Japan's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women before Korea's National Liberation Day on Monday. The Japanese daily Asahi Shimbun reported Saturday that National Liberation Day is when the Korean president makes a speech to highlight the country's history, including the sex slavery issue, and that an agreement before then could positively change the direction of President Park Geun-hye's speech. This comes a day after the foreign ministers of the two countries talked on the phone to discuss follow-up measures to the so-called Comfort Women deal. These included talks on a $10 million fund for a foundation for the victims, with the Japanese government saying it will swiftly provide the agreed amount once domestic procedures are completed. Korea marks National Liberation Day every August 15th, the day in 1945 when it was liberated from Japan's brutal 35-year colonial rule. The International Monetary Fund expects the Korean economy to expand less than 3% this year due to various structural restraints. However, it welcomes recent fiscal measures and monetary easing aimed at tackling the challenges hindering growth. Kim Min-ji reports.
The Korean economy faces a number of structural headwinds going forward. In its annual assessment of Asia's fourth-largest economy, the IMF says it expects Korea to grow 2.7% this year. The agency says there are several structural constraints on the country, including a rapidly aging population, a heavy reliance on exports, and lagging productivity. However, the growth outlook is unchanged from its previous projection, and the IMF also maintained its forecast for next year at 3%. The IMF holds bilateral discussions with member countries every year to review their economic developments and fiscal policies. On that note, the agency says it supports the Korean government's push for corporate restructuring in order to bolster the country's growth potential. Korea's shipbuilding industry has been at the center of the restructuring drive amid an industry-wide slump and a drastic drop in orders. Major shipbuilders are engaging in aggressive downsizing, and tens of thousands of workers are expected to lose their jobs this year. The government announced a stimulus package which includes a $10 billion budget supplement in order to cushion the negative impact and support job creation. The Bank of Korea also cut its key rate to a record low of 1.25% in June to prop up the economy. Down the line, the IMF says a carefully targeted expansion of social expenditure could help reduce inequality in Korea, as well as boost consumption and bolster productivity. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, Korea's stock market grew the 13th fastest among the financial markets of G20 member nations in the first half of this year. Korea Exchange says the benchmark KOSPI rose 4% between January 1st and June 30th. That's about 1 percentage point lower than the G20 average. Brazil's stock market grew the most at more than 13%, followed by Germany's DAX at 11%. The biggest rises in Asia were Indonesia and Japan's Nikkei at 8 and 7.4% respectively. The only G20 member nation which saw its market drop was Saudi Arabia. It fell 2.7%. Now, in the race to the White House, Hillary Clinton appears to be opening up a decent-sized lead over her Republican rival Donald Trump in the key battleground states in the election. Polls by NBC News, The Wall Street Journal and Marist give Clinton leads in all 4 of the most diverse battleground states. In Florida, Clinton is ahead of Trump by 5 points among registered voters, 44% to 39%. In North Carolina, Clinton has a 9-point advantage. In Virginia and Colorado, Clinton has a 13 and 14-point lead, respectively. Now, if Clinton wins all 4 of those states, Trump has no realistic path to getting the 270 electoral votes needed for victory. The margins remain essentially the same in a 4-way race with Libertarian nominee Gary Johnson and the Green Party's Jill Stein. Now, biomimetics is the imitation of elements and principles of nature for the purpose of solving complex human problems. And lately, the use has been widened to include daily supplies, all the way to state-of-the-art wearable devices. Our Kim Jong-hyun has more.
This is a food tray used by astronauts. With the help of an adhesive pad that copy traits from a burdock fiber, the tray and all the items on it are able to stay still even in a state of weightlessness. Scientists also developed a smart adhesive pad that has the shape of the suckers of an octopus. The pad contracts when the temperature surpasses 32 degrees Celsius, making it possible to stick to another object. There are several possible uses, including as a medical adhesive and attaching wearable devices on robots. The back of the leatherback turtle is also being tested to see if it could be used to improve the design of submarines or other underwater vehicles. The way bees communicate by giving each other signals is also being used to develop software.
Technology has evolved up to the extent of imitating the lifestyle and complex behaviors of animals and plants from simply copying their prevalent traits.
Innovative ideas derived from nature are now being used in advanced technologies. Biomimetic innovations are expected to contribute to overcoming the current limitations of mankind. Kim Jong-hyun, Arirang News.
Now, Korea is still in the grips of an intense heat wave with daytime highs around the country ranging in the mid to high 30s for yet another day. With heat wave warnings and advisories in place around the country, highs nationwide on Saturday topped out at 38 degrees Celsius in some areas, including Daegu and Andong. Seoul wilted under a daytime high of 34 degrees Celsius, although the so-called urban heat island effect can make it feel even hotter than that. The scorching conditions are forecast to last through the rest of the three-day holiday weekend, but temperatures will be slightly cooler. If you're watching us in Korea, be sure to stay as hydrated as possible and keep out of the midday sun if possible, as well as the UV index is also very high during the day. Well, that's all we have for now. Do have a great Saturday wherever in the world you're watching us. We'll be back at 10 p.m. Korea time in a little under 4 hours from now with our next news bulletin. So until then, goodbye.